What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. The day after the night before. I was usually say the morning after the night before, but it's very much past the morning now, 3:20 in the afternoon. Obviously, I was there last night in Norway, in Bilbao.
Hear a bit of a croak in your voice.
Yeah.
I hear.
Last night, I could barely speak after the game. Like, after I spoke to you, I was trying to speak to people on the plane, and I was just like, I just couldn't get any words out. Like, it was just completely gone, my voice. But what an incredible 24 hours it's been. Spurs are on their way to Bilbao. Spurs are on their way to another European final and to face Manchester United. But
happy to be back in the warmth, back in the sun.
I tell you what, yeah, they made this whole hullabaloo about how it's going to be so cold. You're not going to be able to you know. They're basically telling us like we're going into the Arctic Circle, which we were, and it was going to be so cold that we wouldn't even be able to like think or handle ourselves. I was like expecting to be in the most coldest conditions I've ever been in my life, and like during the day, the sun was out. I was walking around and I was actually hot with the way I prepared. Like literally, it was actually really nice. Crisp air,
the beer probably
air.
warmed you up, I would say.
Yeah, maybe. To be fair, I was like 4 beers down by the time I even landed in Norway, so maybe that had a part to play in it. But by the time the night came, as soon as the game started, it started peltering it down. There was no cover on the away end, so by the end of it, I was soaked to the bone. And look, it was just a great day all round. And I want to give a massive shout out to all the fans that made the trip out there, because such an incredible atmosphere, particularly in that second half. Oh my God, it was literal party mode in that away stand. I'm sure it was party mode wherever you were watching it.
I've seen the vlog, but so I've seen what the pubs, kind of the videos in the pubs before. But how do you compare the pubs in Bodo compared to here in London?
Well, it was weird because obviously they're not that big, right? You know, Bodo's incredibly small.
Were there Bodo fans in the pubs, or was it just Tottenham?
Yeah, it was a mixture everywhere. Like the pub that I was in was mainly Spurs, but there were Bodo fans in there as well. But there were a few more pubs dotted around with Spurs fans in. So, I mean, everyone was kind of like spread out. So it wasn't like the classic away in Europe where you like take over a square and everyone's together. Like there were just not that many Spurs fans out there. It was a 400. It was a 400 allocation, right? So, like I would say before the game was nice. You know, all gathering, good conversation, good songs and stuff like that. But it wasn't like what it maybe sometimes usually is. That's what I would say.
You see, were there any Tottenham fans not in the away end, like in the home end or anything like that?
Yeah, so there were on the left hand side. I think it might have been Spurs' premium seats, because there seemed to be quite a few Spurs fans in the home end. Good old Sean, Henry, and Johnny were in the UEFA seats, so they got told to come into the away end.
Couldn't contain themselves.
They couldn't contain themselves. But I think there were quite a few Spurs fans dotted around the whole stadium, because I was speaking to a lot of fans before the game, right, and a lot of Danish fans, Norwegian fans, and Spurs have a massive following in Norway, like a massive following, and a lot of fans have come from Oslo and all different parts of Norway, Spurs fans, just for the game, and they obviously couldn't get a ticket in the way, and so they're all sitting in the home end. And they're massive Spurs fans, these guys. It's actually quite incredible. Like it seemed like every other person I spoke to was like a Norwegian Spurs fan. It was crazy.
Unbelievable. Which it was. Now, if you're a Norwegian Spurs fan, especially if you're a Bodo fan, like the guy, do you see Jorgensen before the game?
No, I didn't get to see him.
But a lot of them probably support both. But in terms of before we get into the game, like the atmosphere in the stadium, and in terms of just walking into that stadium, you know, seeing how big it was in the flesh, what was that like?
It was tiny. It really was tiny. Like, I would say, like, probably a non-league or a League Two ground, you'd probably think it is, like, just walking up to it. That's how tiny it was. Going to the away end, I thought it was like going into a little cage. That's what it felt like you were going in. It's quite surreal that was a venue of a European Europa League semi-final. It was really surreal to be there, to be honest. It just didn't feel like a stadium that should be hosting that kind of event. Look, no disrespect to Bodo, but that's what it felt like. But what I would say is, from the second I got off the plane, you could just tell like the sense of occasion in the whole town. You really could. You walk off the plane, you get out the airport. Even in the airport, there's Bodo flags everywhere. Get out the airport, you're walking down the road into the town, which is like, from the airport to get into the town is literally a 5-minute walk. It's mad.
How big do you get to walk around the town? Is it a big town?
To be honest, I walked around the town a little bit, walked by the harbour, but once we got into that pub, I don't think we left until kick-off.
What time did you get into the pub?
I got into the pub, I think, 5 or 6 hours before kick-off.
Nice.
So we kind of got a space in the pub, and then that was it. That was that, to be honest, and the beers and the drinks were flowing. But no, what I was saying is, like, you walk through the town, every single home, every single residential home had a Bodo flag outside. Every shop had a Bodo kind of flag in their window. It was just everywhere. You could just really set it. Felt like, you know, when you walk around London during the Euros or the World Cup and you just see England flags everywhere. That's what it felt like.
I see. Any unique drinks in the pubs or anything Norwegian specific?
Yeah, there was a one drink that was in, I don't even know, it was in like some tiny bottle. I just go to the guy like, oh, what is that drink? And he's like, and then the guy next to me who was, getting a drink at the same time goes, all right, let's have one, then I'll buy you one. And it was literally the most disgusting shot in the world. It was like, tasted like Jaeger or something, but it was not great. It really was not great. Very expensive over there in Bodo. It really was like 11, 12, 13 pound a pint.
Was that just for tourists? Or
No,
you think? No, that's just the price.
I was speaking to locals and they say like,
you got it cheap.
the cost of living there is crazy high, but the wages are crazy high there as well.
Interesting.
So, they're living life good there in Norway.
Would you live
The
there?
air is very fresh.
Could you
There's
live in
fresh
Bodo?
food there. Would I live there?
Could you live in Bodo?
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's no Tottenham High Road.
But I saw some of the scenery you were kind of taking videos of while you're walking around the town and all the mountains and everything.
beautiful.
Very scenic.
Yeah, it was very beautiful. You had, as soon as you landed, you saw in the background these really tall mountains with like snow all over it. And then as we were landing as well, you saw these little like craters of land within the sea. It was unbelievable, and a lot of people were taking dips in the sea. So
Cold plunges.
yeah, they were doing those cold plunges, and we were sitting there in a restaurant, and we were overlooking the sea, and we could see all these people just going into this kind of cabin or something, and coming out and taking these plunges in this freezing cold water, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? There is no chance you'll catch me doing that, but apparently it's very healthy for you. So yeah, it seemed like something I would never do, to be honest.
Phenomenal. Sounds like an unbelievable trip.
It really was. It's just like something. It's like kind of like to go to a Europa League semi-final in a place like that. Like I said before, so surreal. And the first half, I felt like fans were very nervy going into the game. Like Bodo fans, it was like a festival occasion throughout the town the whole day. You know, people. The town was absolutely packed. Didn't seem like anyone was working on that.
Was there
day.
any Bodo ultras that you saw?
Nah.
No,
I was
no
speaking
ultras?
to a few Bodo fans. They say there's no such thing as Bodo ultras. They're all
No
like
such thing.
it's, they have them maybe in the southern parts of Norway, but up there everyone is just so friendly. Everyone just wants
Super
to
chill.
chat. Everyone just wants to drink. It's just such nice people there. Really is. And a lot of fans were saying to me before the game, because, you know, we're all mingling together, the Bodo and the Spurs fans, and they were saying to me before the game, like, look, if you guys win, like, we're just happy to be here. That's what it felt like from them, which is madness in a European semi-final.
Which kind of makes sense when it comes to how they got there and their story. I'm sure this is like an unbelievable occasion, but no one expects them to be there, so it's kind of like not a no lose situation in a sense, because
That's what they were saying, because they were saying like, if we win, it'll be the best day of our lives. If we lose, it's still going to be the best day of our lives because we're in a European semi-final here in Bodo. That's what they were saying.
Fair enough. So the game. When kick off, I saw the
There was a
fireworks.
game? I didn't even know there was a game yesterday.
Not sure Bodo knew either. I saw the fireworks when they had kick-off, and there was a big kind of not presentation, but good grand opening to the game. But game went as expected, didn't it? Well, not as expected, I should say, but it was better than expected.
Just before we get into the game, I want to say a massive big up to Tottenham as well for the flag, for the scarves. There was a scarf on each and every seat in the away end, and then they had to quickly take them off because it started peltering with rain, and then someone was on the turnstile giving you a scarf as you walked in. Which Spurs and fan interaction hasn't really gone down well, or has been non-existent, let's say, probably for the last God knows how long. But now I feel like in the last couple of weeks, they're really starting to up their game a little bit. Spurs, they're trying to interact with the fans a little bit more. Scarf was a really good touch, and it was definitely needed in that second half.
Free beer in the home leg.
And you know, everyone was waving it on top of their head. It provided a really good atmosphere. Last week, as you mentioned, the free beer, the tifo as well, which is usually like fan funded. I believe it was funded by the club this time. So it feels like since Vinay has come in, the fan interaction has been a lot better. And from what I was reading and what I'm hearing from Arsenal fans, that's the first thing that he did when he came into Arsenal as well, was very much headed up, kind of trying to get the fans and the club a lot closer together. And it feels like Spurs are on that pathway now.
Let's hope so. Let's hope it carries on in that trajectory, because we know there's been definitely a feeling amongst fans who are treating like customers. No one's a human, they're a customer reference number to this football club. And especially with the prices and how we're treated, there's fairly and rightly been a lot of disgruntlement with how we basically feel like this football club who we've grown up loving, and we've had, this has been our life, and all of a sudden you have this hierarchy who are taking it and trying to make as much profit as possible, and don't see each individual fan as a supporter who's been following this club for decades and decades. And the ones who have been following the club for many, many years are being known as legacy fans, and they don't even want them anymore. They want new touristy fans to come through the door and spend as much money as possible. So it's nice that in recent weeks maybe there are steps towards just doing little things to, try and keep the fans on side and try and make the fans feel like they matter, which I think that hasn't felt like that for a while.
It's those small things as well that make the real difference. Those small little touches that you can just start creeping the fans a bit closer to the club. There's been such a kind of disengagement between the two. Like, they've been nowhere near each other for ages, and these just creep each other a bit closer together. So the away ticket last night was £22.50. That scarf in the shop costs about £15. So it's not bad.
So did someone collect all of them and start reselling them?
Yeah, probably. Everyone, a lot of people were throwing them to the players when they came over to celebrate.
That's a nice touch.
Yeah.
So lovely.
But look, I think in terms of the game, like I said, a lot of Spurs fans were going into it with anxiety before the game. People in the pub saying, "Oh, is it going to be another Dr. Tottenham? And are we going to show up tonight?" A lot of question marks. Not many fans confident that Spurs were actually going to win the game in the 90 minutes. I think fans were confident that we were probably going to go through, but not confident that we are going to win the game in the 90 minutes. And they thought, it was going to be a bit of a backs against the wall job. They thought maybe we'd come under a lot of pressure in the game. And you know what? It was such a professional performance from Spurs. Tactics absolutely spot on by Ange Postecoglou. The players implemented it unbelievably well. And I just didn't feel threatened throughout those 90 minutes. And you're sitting there in the second leg of a semi-final Europa League. You feel like at some point, it's going to come on top of us. And we heard all these rumours about the Bodo Stadium and how good Bodo are at home. And we just never saw any of that. And as well, like, I heard about people were saying, people that we were speaking to, like, the atmosphere in the stadium, you're going to feel it. 8,000 fans are going to be completely on top of you. But that I didn't really feel either.
Yeah, maybe it was maybe a part. I mean, how was it right at the start of the game when they're introducing the players and stuff like that?
I mean, it was good. I mean, I've seen a lot better, to be honest. I have seen a lot better, but maybe it's just because I'm used to seeing a lot more fans. Maybe it's that, but I did expect a lot better. The tifo they had as well was very Arsenal-esque, to be honest. It wasn't the greatest tifo in the world.
The minions.
Yeah.
It was a game where we just felt uncharacteristically comfortable, I think, especially considering the magnitude of the tie, considering everything going into it with Bodo's home form and all the difficult circumstances we're playing this game in. There was no jeopardy, really. I mean, Vicario had very little to do for most of the game. He had that one save from Patrick Berg in the first half from a free kick, which, I don't know if it was a cross or a shot. Either way, Vicario had to deal with it. I mean, I just don't remember too much Bodo actually did throughout the game. But what I would say is we weren't offering that much. We had a couple of half chances as well.
We didn't need to, though.
Yeah, we didn't need to. Obviously, we got the 2-goal lead. I think we were basically... I think Bentancur, Basuma, that quartet of Bentancur, Basuma, Romero, Van der Ven, that four were just patrolling that central space, making sure that any time it went in there, we're the ones coming out winning the ball, and making sure that Bodo don't do those little interchanges, little passes, little 1-2s, which got them so far, especially at home, and they're so good at. And I think we were very, very good at stopping that, basically forcing them out wide where they're less basically threatening. And I think their wingers very much struggled to create any sort of quality, and I think that was a real good thing that Ange did. I think he kept the double pivot. Obviously, it was the same team pretty much as last week, minus Maddison, Decky coming in, and I think that was so crucial, just making sure that double pivot was covering all the space, making sure Bodo weren't getting any sort of advantage in those areas. And when you were stopping that, and then we were kind of winning the ball in those areas, breaking, maybe could have done a bit better with some counter-attacks, but I think we just knew as long as we kept stopping those moments, we'll probably find a moment from a set piece or something. If we can, get the first goal, the game will be there for us. And I think, as you said, it was very disciplined, very professional. The only thing I would say is at half-time, 0-0, obviously we were very comfortable. I never really felt like any jeopardy, but you just know, one mistake, one moment of magic from Bodo. If they get that first goal in that second half, it changes everything. They get a bit of momentum. And I was also looking back at their game against Lazio, and their home game against Lazio was also 0-0 at half-time. So I was a bit wary of that. Like, they didn't maybe have the best first half, but in the second half, they kind of exploded into life and really went for them. So I thought, even at 0-0, I was happy with how things were going, but you just knew you can't basically switch off. You can't let your guard down, because at any moment this tide could change. But obviously, as soon as we got that opening goal, that was it.
I'll tell you what, first, like I said before about the anxiety coming into it, and you could sense it in the stand in the first half. You thought everyone was kind of waiting for Bodo to just grow in influence in that first half and start, really attacking us in numbers. But like you say, that middle quartet was just like suffocating Patrick Berg in the middle of the park, and he's the one that's going to make something happen. And if he can't get on the ball for any sustained amount of time, they're not going to be able to do anything. So I think as the first half was wearing on, Spurs fans were definitely growing in confidence in the stands, definitely. And then at half time, everyone just started singing Spurs are on their way to Bilbao, and it literally didn't stop till the end of the game. And it was literally full-on party mode from half-time up until the final whistle. I felt like the majority of people in that away end thought at half-time, it's pretty much job done. And they didn't feel threatened. And that's what it was. And
we weren't threatened. That's the truth. Vicario had very little to do. And we expected a lot more from Bodo.
And it's because of... I don't even think it was, Bodo that played that badly. But, the manager even came out after the game and said that Spurs threw them off with the tactics that they deployed, and they expected Spurs to play a different game. And that's credit to Ange. And we just nullified them. We just completely nullified them. We did a complete number on them, and they had no answer to it at all. And I can't commend the job that they've done enough yesterday, because if you go to a stadium like that where they're, every single team that go to that stadium come under pressure at some point in the game, always. But we just didn't. And Bissouma, Bentancur, Romero, Van der Ven, even Udogie and Porro as well. All six of them, right, were absolutely brilliant. All brilliant from a defensive standpoint. Nothing was getting past them all day long.
Vicario was going long for his goal kicks again. I noticed as well. Didn't want to play it short. Maybe he didn't trust the pitch, or obviously it was a tactic as well, because in Frankfurt he was doing something similar. But very much, I think if you look at the stats, Bodo I think had 70% possession on the day.
Oh, did they actually?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that goes to show again Tottenham sacrificing a bit of the ball to make sure that we got the job done. I felt.
It's like all our better performances this season, though, have come without the ball. With lower possession.
I think beginning of the season, not necessarily. I think we obviously beat City with 4-0 with less possession, but there were games out against United, Villa, West Ham, where we probably had majority possession.
I would say like the majority of our performance, maybe not less possession, but definitely like playing a different style where you're sitting more on the break. You look at the Frankfurt games as well. Well, definitely in the second half of the season anyway, for sure.
Yeah.
But look, I want to relive that second half all over again yesterday, because it was literal party mode in that away end. It was just incredible being there. And what is it about this green kit, guys? Talk to me about this green kit, because it just seems to be becoming something special now within Tottenham. European nights, away from home, in that green kit. Can we use that green kit in Bilbao? That's what I want to know.
Well, we want it to be our permanent kit, I think.
Yeah,
So make
100%.
Tottenham green.
No, but
There's
I
something about it.
I like the thing that we got about us now. Like at home, all white. You know, that can never change. But away from home, it's got to be green every time.
100%. Forget this blue the light blue. We always perform badly in the light blue. We're always bad in that kit. So I think green needs to become our main away kit. 100%.
Has to be used in the final. And also,
if it's green and red is a bit of a clash. I don't know if they'll allow it. Maybe
is green and red a clash?
Can be. Well, it's a bit too close, probably. Too dark, kind of dominant colours. I hope not. Maybe if United can wear white and we wear green.
Who are the official home team in the final?
I think it's us, but I don't know. I think it is us because we were on that side of the draw, on the left side, so maybe it's us, but I don't know for sure. Let me see. Let me see who's first. I think it's us. We're the top, so...
Does that mean we have to wear our home kit, or we can choose what we want to wear?
No idea.
Because if we can choose what we want to wear, then give them the white kit and let us wear the green kit. Is their away kit white? Man,
I think they have a white away kit, don't they? I think so. Well, they usually do. No, I've got no idea. But I think if we're at home, we're going to probably wear our home kit.
Yeah. But the reality, it was just a special, special night last night. To get to a European final, the night after Arsenal get knocked out in their semi-final as well.
What a couple of days. Oh.
Exactly. Could you ask for a better 48 hours than that?
Absolutely not. It's been a beautiful couple of days. Beautiful, beautiful. And it's been as well just like pretty much very comfortable. Both the hate watch was very comfortable.
Well, you say that, but the first 10 minutes, I was looking like that. I was like,
yeah,
what is going on?
10 minminutes of stress, but I think by and large, as soon as PSG got that goal, it was quite comfortable. And then and yesterday was just I can't believe how comfortable it was. It was 2-0. We barely broke a sweat. And to get through in that manner was just so lovely because it's not something you expect from Tottenham. And I know everyone's going to say it's Bodo. I know all the rival fans, it's only Bodo, Glimt. It's always only, it's only them and it's only this quality of team and blah. But at the end of the day, on that occasion, how many times have Tottenham, threatened to bottle it or shot themselves in the foot and all these different things? And let's be honest, ever since probably the RZ home game, we've been brilliant in this Europa League, defensively especially. We've been absolutely great. We've nullified the opposition. We've attacked with purpose when we needed to. And I think exactly the same happened yesterday. I think we went in there with the lead. I think we played the game state. We played the fact we had a 2-goal lead. We didn't let it affect us. We didn't we didn't switch off. Maybe, as what I was saying, maybe the fact that we conceded that goal just meant we were that bit more on it defensively than we would have been if it was 3-0, and maybe we would have let our guard down a bit. But the fact was that we conceded that goal, maybe it just meant that we played a bit more pragmatically, potentially.
It's not just that, but what else I think plays a key factor in this tie is the way Ange Postecoglou lost to Bodo with Celtic. I think he would have learnt a lot from those two ties. He knows what can happen at that stadium if you don't have your guards up and you don't prepare for it properly. And, him going there with Celtic and getting battered over the course of 2 legs, I actually think he learnt a lot from that and he took it into this game.
Yeah, and I think when we needed to dominate possession in this Europa League and attack the opposition and create chances, we've done it great. When we needed to sit in and defend and protect our lead and be very good defensively, we've done that as well. So I think we've, in terms of these knockout stages in the Europa League, we've been absolutely fantastic. So I think we're well worth a place in this final. And look, Man United on the 21st, it's going to be an unbelievable occasion. I think I can't remember a Europa League final with so much riding on it in terms of the trajectory of both clubs. Win or lose, it's like do or die for both clubs. It's going to be massive on so many fronts. But yeah, I'm just delighted that we got through unscathed. Don't think anyone got injured as well. The pitch just didn't seem a factor as well. I didn't see the pitch affecting Tottenham whatsoever. The pitch, the condition, pitch.
Everything that people were saying that was going to be a massive factor in this game just didn't turn out to be.
Yeah.
The pitch, the weather, the way Bodo are at home, like literally everything just wasn't a factor in the game. And I think that's all down to the way Spurs managed the game.
Yeah, and I completely agree. So I just can't wait for that final. I think everyone is getting looking forward to it.